the whole reason I made this symposium was maybe an attempt to compress what I'm about to share with you. So if you guys have ideas on how to compress it later, let me know. This is where it started. This is my view of what the data flow could look like for achieving the relationship singularity. These are things that are, so what this is what you guys are used to when it comes to personality questionnaires. Are you very extroverted? Do you like to spend a lot of time in your room? Basically self-reported questions. And these are basically personality constructs. What these are things like the ink blot test. If you had someone watching their face and you were showing a movie to them and getting their reactions, you might see data correlate there. Google's Quick Draw. If you ever saw a cultural analysis of Google Quick Draw, which is another thing I should include in this, these slides are probably still only 70% of what I have. Maybe at a future date I'll have a more complete whole blog post on this.
Can you define relationship singularity? Or are you going to get to that?
We might get there, yeah. I think we will. So Google Quick Draws, you can see, for example, that Japanese people, when they draw circles, draw them this way. Americans draw them this way. And this is just one of many signals you get about personality, just from people's actions that are not telling you anything specific about personality. What this is Tropes. So we'll get to this later, but there's a website called TV Tropes. Basically, tropes are combinations of personality traits with different frequencies of different traits. And that is another embedding space that this would map into this, would map into this. And then you get actual characters, and these are nodes, and then you have an edge between them, and that ends up with a graph of emotions that relationship elicits in each person. And then those become coordinates in relationship embedding space. And this is the map of all types of relationships. And then this is a probability distribution of the outcomes you might expect in that relationship. So this is a high-level view of what I think is maybe the path, and we can look at ways that we might map each of these things to data. What is the relationship singularity? It is the event where all social outcomes we seek are instantly attainable, at least in terms of knowing the optimal moves to make to achieve the best ones possible to us. We cannot achieve it, but we can get asymptotically close. So right now what I view this as is the goal is to ultimately make what I think Facebook might have become or could have become is like a Google for social search. And so yeah, this is what I think it could be. I think there's a lot of people in the cultural space who have had some glimmer of hope that this could exist, and I think they all think about it, and it's like anti-mimetic, where they forget about it again because they just have no hope. They have no real vision that this could be technologically achieved. You can see, for example, here, preferences can be respectfully derived from social media streams and public data sets. Can systems help move users past unhealthy partner-seeking habits? Can the system pre-screen people by evaluating their friends' experiences or ratings? Using ubiquitous sensors and subtle actuators, how magic and subtle could proximal matchmaking become? If a central computer knew that two people were made for each other, could it use ambient or augmented reality technology to help him notice her across a crowded bar by amplifying her laugh, or even by slightly brightening the light above him when she looked his way? Could not this many interruptions, guys, please. Let me finish this. Could matchmaking technology like love be in the air? And so this is the concept of what a technological relationship singularity might start to look like. Why should we achieve the relationship singularity? I think this talk was maybe from I forget when, maybe 2019. But it says, over the next 50 years, the greatest source of new wealth may consist in finding choices we didn't already know we had. I think that there's a lot of things people like Elon are doing, which are really great, which is making a new rocket ship. I think I don't know, there's a lot of technological advancements that are trying to make a new thing. What I think is that this is one of the greatest opportunities to create improved societal happiness that costs almost nothing. You just have to introduce two people. And think about, for everyone here, your closest friend who's not a family member, think about how much happiness they generate for you. So one study I saw was that if you look at two people in the sort of 50K to 250K income range, the people who are married have a 50, and then you look at their happiness levels. the people who are married have the equivalent of a $50,000 increase in salary in terms of happiness. And I think this was actually between $60,000 to $110,000. It's like people with $60,000 in salary are the equivalent happiness of people with $110,000 who are single. That's a lot of money, and that's like per year. So if you're thinking about like making a new car or anything, and you think about how much more happy that makes a person, you're basically increasing people's happiness in terms of economic value if you give any credence to like the market has any sort of authority over what is true. You're creating that much happiness between people. And I think that's just like a free choice we didn't know we had. I have another view of the relationship singularity, that the goodness of a relationship follows power laws, where there's like at the far tail, like I think you can find people who are like 1 in 100 for you, 1 in 1,000, 1 in 10,000, and you might say, then why try to find the 1 in 100,000? Why try to find the 1 in a million? Because maybe they're only a little bit more compatible. Maybe you only like them a little bit more. They only make you a little bit happier. In my personal experience, and what I've seen from people, finding that person does not make you a little bit happier. It makes you significantly happier. That like, of all compatible people, at the very tail end, in the top 1 and then in decreasing percentages, people start to have something like, they satisfy their soul. Like they feel less lonely in being like a thing that exists in the universe. And I think that's just like a feeling that maybe even can't be like quantitatively compared to just having a group of friends you get along with. I think being able to optimize the process where we begin relationships with people with a very high likelihood of positive outcomes can save us a lot of bad outcomes and maximize good outcomes that we might never have experienced otherwise. Okay. There's actually a less wrong post about this that was on similar wavelength. How to make billions of dollars reducing loneliness. And he, this is by John Maxwell, and he essentially talks about the same thing. That like, if we just could get people to be with people that they are really, really compatible with, this could like improve the quality of life massively for people. And that we are currently living in like a social dark age where like maybe I think people here at Lighthaven and in the Bay have done some of the filtering that these texts would do, and it makes you a lot happier maybe than the average person. But just imagine how much better it could get if every time you went on vacation, you were matched with someone in that city who could become a new best friend, not just an acquaintance that you like to hang out with, like an actual best friend. I think people's investment in their communities is often, like for me at least, the cities I love, I've always realized in retrospect when I went back to that city, that the only reason I ever loved it was because like I loved someone in that city. And every time I've gone back to a city where I wasn't with that person in that city, I suddenly did not love the city anymore. And I think as we get increasingly where we have this urban disinvestment in our communities, in our civilization, in our society, a lot of it is because of loneliness, where we don't care about the people we spend time with in our society. And I think if we could have it where you had like super compatible people all around the world that you knew, it would sort of create like more investment in the human species for people. They actually have people they loved. And I don't think the main barrier to that is people simply not being open enough to loving others. I think it's that there's just inherent compatibility that takes a lot of effort and time and luck to actually find someone who is optimal in this way. So this person gives a long list of things that you can try. They're all fans of the same sports team. They enjoy the same movies, musicians, blah, 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 blah. What does this all become? This is just a personality vector that they're describing. They're describing different ways that a human could be measured or quantified as to like what their personality is. Getting it out of the way at the beginning, some people have made good critiques of this. They said, is this literally automating echo chambers in real life? The answer is probably yes. That's who you're going to get along with. You're probably going to, like, the onlineification of echo chambers, this would probably make it social echo chambers, where you're literally only spending time with people you like. So, like, now you don't actually have to deal with the fact that people, like, you disagree with, part of what you disagree with is, like, you just don't like them because they're not in your bubble. So, yes, this might amplify bubbles. Another thing it might do is deprive people of learning experiences. You know, you learn a lot about what it means to be a human and stuff by suffering through bad relationships. You learn about yourself. Yes, these are bad outcomes, and I don't have answers for what to do about them. I will just say, all new technology that gives blessings also comes with curses, and I think the good on this outweighs the bad. And if you don't work on it, I will. I think you'd have to give me outcomes worse than never getting to meet your true best friends and soulmates and living in an era of mass social loneliness for me to consider not creating this. But yeah, it's good to know that those might be downstream effects if this actually got achieved. Some people think this probably won't work. I already gave you my whole I'm always right thing, so there it is. Here's how I became always right, though I didn't know it was going to happen. Clip came out in 2021. I was in like a hostel in Costa Rica, and there was a party, and I ended up not going to the party and instead reading the Clip paper for like 6 hours because this thing changed the state of image synthesis. And what they did, that is what I think is how all of this unsupervised learning stuff works now, is that instead of having one hot encoded label to say, okay, so here's how it used to work, is you had pictures of cats and dogs, and you just had like the first bit was like a 0 or 1. 0 for dogs, 1 if it's a cat. And you just have the ML model learn, is this image more 0 or more 1? And then we said, okay, can it also tell us the species of dogs? So now it has to be 0 for dog, and then some encoding to say Rottweiler versus Husky. But then what about the orientation of the dog? Oh, now we need another bit to say which way the dog is pointed. Oh, but how about the length of the hair of the dog? Okay, we need another number that says the length of the hair of the dog. We need a human to come and label every single one of these things about every single image. And we said this is never going to scale. Actually, Scale AI like almost went out of business when Clip came out because people thought like the whole reason that they had so much demand was to do all this one hot encoded labeling. And what Clip did was it found an unsupervised way to generate a vector that described every single one of these labels in a high dimensional space. So the way it did it, I actually don't have good Clip pictures, but Clip creates this manifold where a caption of an image and an image have to be embedded in the same coordinate space. The actual thing it does is embed it where it's the nearest thing. What was actually discovered is that the language space was this smaller sphere at hypersphere, and that image space is this larger hypersphere because there's more possible images than ways to describe them. You can just imagine one way that you could describe a cat. There's like a lot of ways you can draw a cat from that description. So the point is that it found an unsupervised way to have any single image represented with as much resolution as was needed to distinguish it from every single other image in the world. And once there was collected a data set called Lion 5B, of 5 billion images, this Clip embedding space became extremely optimal at knowing everything that you needed to know about an image to distinguish it from every single other image. And that's what I plan on doing with human personality, is basically getting a large enough data set and an unsupervised training where you could be able to distinguish not only every possible person from another, but also it could learn things like not every person, but also every possible person from another. So yeah, can the same be done for mapping arbitrary modalities to a semantic personality space? Arbitrary modalities in this case means not just images of people, not just text of people like we had with Clip, but could it be the voices of people, the genetics of people, the sense of people, videos of people, any of that stuff. Like any way that you can get data about a person, could we transform that into a thing that describes the totality of who they are in a single efficient embedding space learned through unsupervised learning? So I want to now show anyone in the room, who in the room, like raise your hand if you feel you have a great understanding of embedding spaces. Just be confident. Let's see it. Yeah, I know you guys want to raise your hands. Okay, that's maybe 5, maybe some not. Okay, who thinks they have no clue what it is? Okay, and rest in the middle. So I want to show I think this is the best example. So I don't know if you guys heard of MNIST. This is like hand-drawn digits. I could draw digits 9, 1, 2, whatever. There's like a latent space of all ways that people draw the number 1 or 2 or 9, and it differs. And the way that you draw different letters also, or numbers, has similarity between each other. So this is one of my favorite intuitions for what the embedding space of the number 7 being drawn and all other numbers being drawn is. You can see there's actually this similar continuity at the edges of 7s and 9s, where some 7s and 9s look similar. You can see even there's some 3s that end up looking like 7s. So this is what an embedding space looks like. This is what it means to embed information. And what the features are of this, what the characters are just literally, if you break down a region that you draw on into little grids, you just fill it in or don't fill it in, that's what this data is. So you can imagine instead is, are you outgoing or not? That's a box filled in or not filled in. And so we would make shapes with our personalities similar to making a number or a letter. You can see there's as you move around the space, that things that are near each other are similar to each other, and that going in a certain direction has a meaning. That for example, in this case, the 8 goes from being slanted to the left to slanted to the right. It means something in this space geometrically to go from here to here. It means something to be in this region. And in the same way, in personality embedding space, things that are near each other, people that are near each other are similar, and going from this direction to that direction means this is a type of person becoming more this way. So yeah, that's an embedding space. In my opinion, one of the most magical modern inventions.
Can you hover over one of the most isolated clusters, like one on the right?
Yeah, well, I think that would be zeros, or yeah, zeros. You can see there's some 9-ish zeros and even 6-ish zeros.
What the fuck?
Or well, actually, a 0-ish 6 is really what it is. The label. So this is where Scale AI also would label this stuff. They would pay people to label this stuff. This is where you see some of the stories Nigerians are just labeling AI Rose data. That's some guy in Nigeria might have said this is a 6. Probably more likely it was an underpaid PhD student at some university labeled that a 6. But yeah, that's how it works. You can see the 1 just tilting. And really, I don't think there's anything actually that far out of space. Maybe this 8 here. It's kind of in a pretty weird spot. So yeah, there are outliers too. Boom. Okay. Personality space. So one of the coolest things that happened with language space was this. I want to convince you that there's geometric properties within embedding space. So this is word to Beck, and one property is if you subtract. How do you describe this? It's This is the vector that goes from female to male, and so what was it?
You can do
An
the
outline
king
space.
minus,
Yeah,
minus woman plus man.
Oh yeah, you do king.
Minus man plus woman.
This is man, yeah. Minus man. Hold on.
The usual rules tip minus tail.
It's not minus woman, man plus woman. It's oh yeah,
King
you're right,
minus
you're right,
woman
you're right.
equals man. Yeah.
This is the regal vector. Yeah, make woman regal, it goes that direction. So it'd be
King minus man, and then King minus man.
You go this
King
way.
minus man.
King.
Minus
What is the
man.
man vector? It would be this direction. Yeah. Minus man, so it'd be going the opposite direction. You guys get it. It's a space with rules. I always forget how exactly to say it. Big to biggest, small to smallest. So what does it mean to embedding personalities? Yes, that's what we're doing. Mean, outgoing, shy. And you can see that there's archetypes would be combinations of traits. So if you're nice and outgoing, maybe you're this meta trait, life of the party. So yeah, this is what personality embedding space would look like. All right, what aspects of personality should we embed? Someone said earlier, you just made Obama white. They didn't even read what the thing was. And I'm that's not the point. But anyway, what aspects of personality should we embed? As I said before, everything. If you want to know everything, if everything that's going to be relevant, you should embed all of it. So here's what happens when you don't embed a personality at a high enough resolution. And then you ask an AI model, based on everything else it knows, to render that thing based on how well you embedded it, you get a lossy interpretation. So imagine you're asking someone, this is a person, right? It's one of you, I embed you like this, and then I ask some model, do you think this guy would find you attractive? And then it says, well, this is what we think the AI model thinks this guy looks like. This person might find that person attractive. You can see it could get lossy, where the information that you need to know that is not captured because it's not sufficiently high resolution. So this is why some people say, Matt, this won't work. It's because they think that we're going to do this. We're going to capture only this amount of data about the human personality, and they would be correct. If we only capture a very low resolution of someone's personality, we are going to get very inaccurate answers to questions like, do you like this guy, or do you find him attractive? So we need a lot of data. We need to have a very, very dense personality embedding to do this correctly. Voice, so actually, like, for example, I don't know if you guys have ever had a relationship with someone, like, online, like, World of Warcraft lovers style, but, like, that's a real thing. Like, people, I had one friendship that was, like, almost entirely on Discord, and every time we met in person, it was, like, way different, and, like, not a good way. This is a person I had a crush on, too, and, like, it was, like, mutual until we met in person, and then, it was terrible. Anyway, I asked her one time, like, if you knew someone was attracted to me, what would you know about them? And she said, they must not have high standards. They must not care much about looks. So anyway, pretty mean, somehow friends. So anyway, point, yeah, rough, whatever, okay. Yeah, so you have to embed everything about them. Like, for example, voice first writing. I think there's a lot of people out there, maybe even especially if like women relate to this more, where they actually like, there's something about a guy's voice. There's this meme on the internet that they get the ick when a guy leaves a voice message on like Hinge or something. So like they're typing to them and then like the guy talks and they're just like, you know, ick, like the way he talks suddenly wrong. We have to embed that. If you want to if you want to set someone up on a date where you get credibility that it's going to be right, you need to embed the voice. You need to embed the voice, because that's actually like a vector that correlates with relationship outcomes. You need to embed almost everything to not have this happen. Modeling people. These are some of my components of like how we need to model people. We need to do so thoroughly, and that's what I've been discussing, just like make sure we get all the information about them. We need to do so efficiently. So there are two things that prices people pay when we're modeling them. They're either paying with their time or with their privacy. Because one thing you could do is have them upload, like they could do click the button where you download all your Facebook data, and then just click upload with like the zip file. But that's violating privacy. So we do get a ton of data with like a little bit of time from them, but they don't want that. And so as we're thinking for like people who like want to make a startup about this, about how do I collect all this data thoroughly, is how do you do it with time and privacy costs being used efficiently? You need to increase confidence on important traits ratios, and you need to extrapolate more accurately to get them to continue investing. We need to do it communicably. So the thing is that people don't want to just like throw a bunch of their data into a black box. They want to like have you up the ante at each step, where with very minimal information from them, they want to see a magic trick that you prove to them our tech is actually using this data to do the thing you want it to do. So one way you can do this, there was a study that came out, I don't have it up here, but like they showed people like about 20 different clips, 30 seconds each, videos, and they were just doing facial sentiment analysis on the people watching it. And they knew their big 5 personality traits. And there were certain videos where just the reaction of a person in a very small number of seconds of that video was massively correlated with certain personality constructs. Imagine if your website, like you have a dating website, and you open to the user with, here's like a short little video clip, and then like they watch it, and then you just instantly tell them you're probably this extroverted or whatever, and they know it about themselves to be true. They're like, what the hell? Like this website, I have to keep giving them more info. They actually like can map like a little bit of info to know me deeply. I think people want to feel that they are known deeply, because that's like what a in-person matchmaker does too. They want to feel, if you're like consulting with a person, they want to feel that this matchmaker knows them. Like just from very little info, they want to feel I'm known and understood, because this gives them credibility. And we want them to understand also insights about themselves, so that we can say we understand what journey you're trying to go on, what goals you have in this relationship. And finally, we want it to be done usefully, which is like maybe a hard to define term, but it's something like just because we've mapped your personality doesn't mean we're actually helping you. So I don't know. This is like probably the hardest to define, but like we need to give you actually good outcomes. So yeah. Here's like an example of like how you can embed human like body movements, for example. So this is actually done right up there at UC Berkeley. But like you can basically take just videos of couples dancing. It's like almost like sci-fi Gottman-esque analysis, where you can take videos of people dancing and you can see synergy and synchronicity between couples. We are living just on the precipice of this, like the style or the style-GAN moment for personality is maybe just like a year away, and the stable diffusion moment for embedding human personality is maybe only 3 years away. And I think this kind of stuff is like the early papers that will make this work. Okay, so a little bit from Twitter. Okay, we'll just start with this one actually. So,
Really?
this person, this little piss baby, one time I was really manic and I paid a psychic on Etsy $30 to draw my soulmate. Do any of my followers look like this? There will be a callback to this later, but people are out there trying to do this. People want this to happen. Out of 8 billion people, it's likely that at least one is scarily close to me in personality, like a real doppelganger. I'm trying to figure out how to acausally coordinate with him so we can meet each other. Any ideas for Schelling points? And basically this is like, pick 20 variables of a person, calculate the personalities. There's like, this person's saying basically that like, how do I... There will be another person like you. They're saying that the personality embedding space is very high dimensional. We can have people be unique in it. This person's worry is that the Obama like low resolution phase is like we can't get more precise than that, and they are incorrect. Or maybe I don't know. Like, okay, so I'm going to start with a field that has already had its style GAN moment, and that is the field of human emotional embeddings. So this is Alan Cowen. I tried to get him to come. I think it's actually Cowen, by the way, like Tower Cowen. I don't think he's Jewish. That's a very Jewish name, but it's actually Cowen, I think. So Alan Cowen, he lives in he lives in New York City, but he went to UC Berkeley here, and he is like he's like the goat at this, like embedding human personality or embedding human emotions. So he started with a hypothesis that all human emotion research is in its pre-clip era, right? Where we basically have a priors on what the affordances are in emotion space. This was like one of the earliest papers where we want to look for more plausible alternatives because we have a bunch of data on human faces and we say, this is anger, this is disgust, this is happiness, oh, this is also happiness, oh, this is fear, and this is also fear, by the way. This is anger, and this is also here. Does this person look angry to you?
No.
No.
Does this person look afraid? No. Or does this person look happy?
No.
Okay. And yet we say they reported. Oh, sorry. Okay. Let me. This person said that they felt happy, but they look surprised. This person said they felt fear, but they look happy. This person said they felt angry, but they look disgusted. And it's because we have insufficiently high-dimensional affordance space in psychological literature to describe the emotion. Because the theory was that everything is very primitive. Like we're in the dark ages of like this stuff. We're just saying these are the only emotions that someone can feel. Those are the only labels we're giving. If you look surprised and you're happy, you're feeling awe. If you feel fear and you look happy, you're embarrassed. If you feel anger and you look disgusted, you're feeling contempt. This is what a higher dimensional embedding space looks like. When you actually like say that all these priors people have put on language of like how you can describe personality are insufficiently high dimensional. So when people today here have asked me, have you heard of the Big Five? Why isn't this enough? This is the Big Five. This is what I'm trying to create. This is only 5 dimensions of personality that we talk about. This is add more dimensions. This is be more descriptive. This is life of the party. Instead of just, if you're outgoing and nice, you don't have to pick one. You can just combine them semantically. This is one of Alan Cohen's earliest work. Cowen, whatever. This is the data. He had a target emotion. So he'd like give participants the word dismay, and then he'd give them like 25 randomly chosen other words, and he'd say rank these by how close you think they are to the word dismay to get human data on which emotions are similar to other emotions. And that becomes like kind of not exactly sure what the data set, like what that data looks like, but this is how you can create an embedding space from that. From like that list of like, here's the things closest to that emotion. So you can see, now we're starting to get a higher dimensional representation of what emotion looks like. And you can see there's something over here that's like challenge or grit. So earlier people would just maybe say, this is happy, this is like sad, and this is angry, right?
Pity and orgasm are pretty close.
Where is that?
Bottom left.
Where is it? Bottom left? Oh.
Yeah, the
Pity Oh yeah, pity and sympathy, caring, love, orgasm, lust. You can see like epiphanies and awe and adoration go into like these romantic feelings, but you can see that like amusement and giddiness and joy are not the same thing as those. You can see like romance down here. You can see this like fear, dread, fatigue, detachment. This is anger, hate, and irritation. So this is what it looks like when you turn like a simple thing into a high-dimensional embedding space.
Oh, we got it.
Okay. Any call-outs on this? Thoughts, questions? This is the embedding space of human emotions.
This picture is sort of two-dimensional, but you're embedded in a very high-dimensional space, right?
Yeah,
I wonder if there's some orientation where you might see different kinds of clusters.
exactly.
Shift left, I'm recording.
So this is, the way you create this is something called dimensionality reduction. You use something like UMAP or TSNE. I think I won't cover that too much in this because I'd have to have different slides that show that. I actually might. It's actually pretty quick to explain.
I have an intuitive idea of what.
Okay.
Oh, I
So
know.
here is a high dimensional thing. This 3D coordinate of this
Mammoth.
this thing,
A mammoth. Or no,
mammoth, yeah, mammoth fossils. And here's a way that you can turn this into a two-dimensional representation. That's what it means to make a high-dimensional thing visible on a two-dimensional plane. Explain. Okay. This is like the state space of emotions. So there's like number of dimensions of emotional state space. This is the how much you feel the emotion, and actually I'm not sure the upper axis.
Do you think it's possible to create an objective map of emotions? Because don't emotions also get influenced by the culture that you grew up in?
We're going to get into that. Actually, there is a paper on that we're going to discuss.
Okay.
Okay. Actually, that is this paper. Or it's the next one, I think. Or actually, yeah, we'll get there. But you can make one that is like high resolution. Yeah, that is a good question. Okay, so here's some more of his stuff. I actually wanted to show you guys one here. So this is the emotions evoked by video. So people said, they looked at these clips and they said, what emotions? I think they were feeling, or maybe there's even like a facial analysis. You can see like, this sparks interest, or at least the emotion they saw was interest. This is like adoration. This is amusement.
I'm amused.
He's gonna fall through it. Oh no.
That one's awe.
Here's awkwardness. Here's nostalgia. Yeah, we're gonna just get 90s nostalgia. Okay. Romance. Sexual desire. Yep. Disgust. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, John Waters. Yeah.
Horror. Also
It
fear.
went out, it went out.
Anxiety.
Went out.
Oh, that's cool.
Anxiety. Yeah, also censored. Fear. We can also find like in the interplace between disgust and sexual desire. I was not planning this. Yeah. They nailed it. That is like, you're not sure which. Okay. Nostalgia and something else. That's, I wonder, entrancement and, yeah. Hillary's somewhat nostalgic, I guess. And then here is like an unsure one between interest and adoration. Joy? So you get it, I think. There's such a thing as embedding spaces. Audio to emotion embedding. I also want to show this one, though I'm not sure if my speaker will be loud enough. So this is sounds, and Amusement. We're gonna desire. Sadness. Distress. Fear.
Exactly what happened.
There's such a thing as embedding spaces, and it encodes a lot of information. I think that's my main point. Okay.
Quick question.
That's exactly what.
Yeah. Go ahead. Question.
How good is like Hume's like voice recognition?
Alan Cowen is the founder of Hume.
Okay.
So not bad. Yeah, he is. They invested. He's an AI grantee, and they invested well, having him try to figure out human emotion.
Sweet.
Okay. Why is this so?
What does that mean, AI grantee?
It's a
AI grant is like
Oh, AI
like,
grant. Yeah.
The AI has granted
Using
him money
grammar.
from the future retrocausally.
using grammar. Okay. Some emotion labels are okay. To your question, some emotion labels are consistent across cultures, and we're not. So this is actually similar. This is from some of those embedding things he did. So this is emotions where two people, I think they mostly use people from India and the U.S., agreed versus disagreed on labels for certain data sets on is this the right emotion. So you can see Indians and Americans, I think it's Indian Americans, we'll just go with that, think that sadness, like they agree when a thing is sad, like voice, images, audio, video, whatever. They agree when something is content, anger. They will not agree at all on what's embarrassing.
Explains a lot of my.
They will not
arguments
agree
on
much on
variance.
what's shameful or what's disgusting, what makes someone feel guilty, what looks like ecstasy or arousal or sympathy. So you can see in cultures, there are some where in the embedding space can be cross-culturally shared and then some where there can't. And this would have to be accounted for. So you could get more data to know which culture is a person from, and then you would map them into the embedding space for their culture. Things like that could be done. Here's also like Japanese responses to like labels they gave to things they saw. You can see Japanese are much, they'll give like, valence is like how much they like it, and then arousal is like how excited, I guess. And you can see like Japanese basically will not give low valence thing, low arousal, so they won't be very aroused by bad things, whereas American, this is like maybe like some of our like, you know, TikToks where people are fighting, could be like low arousal and low valence is like bad, but we also are actually not unaroused and bad, yeah, or unaroused, I'm not sure.
It's like magnitude and direction. Valence is direction. In this case, the direction's a bit trivial, of just positive or negative, like left or right, but still.
This is admiration over here, for example. Yeah, I'm not really sure how to interpret this. The point is, I think there's different distributions of emotions elicited in different cultures. You're right, like, we have to actually include the culture, and that's back to my Obama pick. You need a high-resolution understanding of someone. You can't just say, we've asked all these people who are weird, if anyone knows, like, the WEIRD in all caps, like, this group that only responds this way, we have to actually map their culture to.
Maybe clear. No, I didn't understand.
Here's some other ways that you can look at like dominance versus affiliation. So like negative, dominant is hating someone. Having like weak but negative is like being morose. And this is like euphoric versus like loving. You can see also that like narcissistic traits are maybe more up in this place, hating and contempt. You can see that like depression is usually down here, negative and like withdrawn. Bipolar is actually like splits as advertised. Autism is actually like low, like kind of neutral on dominance and back and forth on affiliation. So you can actually learn personality traits, and I'm showing you this to encourage you to understand that if you think there's something that this embedding won't capture, you're probably wrong. Probably we can like know almost everything about a person just from even seeing the emotions that they elicit in certain data. We can know if they're bipolar, if they are depressive, if they have extroversion or not. All those things. You can see, like, for example, here's another way to look at like dominance, affiliation, narcissism, psychopathy, Machiavellianism are up here. There's also a way you could like filter out users who maybe have no hope of like a good relationship with others. And so yeah, just you can know things about people through embedding space. Embedding human personality. So if you recall, I was showing you how to embed emotions, which is a field of research that's already been working. Now I'm going to show some stuff on this. I'm not sure how much I have, but okay. So this is a super cool chart. I think this is actually from the like Facebook data set that was the one that now is not allowed to be used because it was the thing that Cambridge Analytica used.
And then Andrew also used it.
Yeah, Andrew, what was the name of it?
My personality.
What is it?
My personality.
My personality, yeah. I think this is maybe also used the my personality data set. So, picture this. We have your Facebook, we know all of your likes, and I want to guess, and I also know all of your big 5 personality scores, like it's one of you. I have to guess what your neuroticism, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, openness is. To do this, I'm like either your work colleague or your friend, or I'm an AI, and this is log scale. I know 10 pages randomly chosen that you like on Facebook. If I'm an AI that knows 10 Facebook pages you like, I can guess your big 5 personality traits as accurately as a work colleague. If I'm an AI that knows 100 of your Facebook likes, I can guess your big 5 personality traits as well as an average human, or family, let's say. I'm not sure exactly what that. I think that's. Oh, this is humans' average accuracy just in general for all people. This is to prove that the computer did better. So then, how close is your spouse to you? They are only 275 Facebook likes close to you. Which is to say that if you think even my mother can't help me figure out who I should date, I say she doesn't know all of your Facebook likes. And like probably the computer can know you better than the best matchmaker or family member ever could. This is also just me demonstrating a scaling law. As we know more about your personality, we know more about all your other personality traits. I had one interesting thing about this, which is I think like it's interesting how quickly people can figure out how open someone is. I thought that was interesting. And it's really hard to figure out how agreeable someone is. And actually, this shows up in a few other things.
And to me, that's not terribly surprising. Your likes have a lot to do with the degree of interested in these things, where the agreeableness is so maybe human thing, it's hard to observe. Right?
Yeah, you wouldn't expect it to show up a lot.
This would suggest decreasing marginal information to knowledge about from likes, which would kind of go counter to your hypothesis of knowing someone deeply will find you better and better matches in terms of people.
Well, it's just a marginal. It's just a marginal return decrease.
Yeah, I'd say,
but you can still just know more.
Yes, but to say, assuming that you go, given assume a somewhat rapid marginal decrease, that's saying there's
You're
not
assuming
a lot of
a somewhat rapid marginal.
Yeah.
This does not look like a rapid marginal decrease.
I would say it does, but it depends.
This is going up linearly. It's on a log scale, I know, but also 300 Facebook likes is like not a lot of data. And it's shockingly high already.
Wait, that's because the x-axis is
Okay,
log.
I get
it's
it.
marginal decrease because it looks linear.
I don't think it disproves the idea that you can just get way more data than 300 Facebook likes.
Oh yeah, but
Somehow it worked. Same thing people said in 2018 about image synthesis, so proven wrong. Same argument I heard 5 years ago.
This is also just the 5-factor model, and something more sophisticated might have an entire long tail that is knowable, and that no matchmaker can read enough to find that out.
Yeah.
I feel like if I was Facebook and I was trying to do dating, what I would do is just like, you have the whole social network, just take people like on the border of every social network, because then it's like they're similar enough that they'll probably get along, but they're not in the same social circle, so like stakes are lower, it's not as like weird. Like, I feel like you don't, like this might be helpful, but like just efficiency wise, like,
Interesting.
because like all of us are gathered here because we're like things bringing us together, but like, social networks are a bit incestuous, and like you just go a little bit outside that.
Yeah. All right. As data increases, you can know a person's personality better. It's a scaling law. And yeah. Okay. What do friends and family know best about you that online data doesn't? So this also was talking about some of the stuff you guys were saying that like, I think it was something like, yeah, we'll skip this one. I didn't look at this in like a year. This one is very interesting. This is how well the difference between people's self-reported and other persons report, how correlated someone reported their own big 5 personality traits versus how their peers reported it at different ages. So what you can see here is like the less total divergence or actually it would be, the higher these values, the more people and their peers agree on what their personality is, like what a person's personality is. You can see actually extroversion, like at a very young age, people already agree with their peers on how extroverted they are, and actually have a very big divergence, or at least it's a, kind of a truncated y-axis, but like less on conscientiousness. And you can see as people get older, they understand each other better on how open they are. Maybe also like people start to realize how not open they are, and they start to agree with their peers. But either way, like the people, and also I found this one super interesting, that people are not very good ages 14 to like 20 at agreeing with their peers on how emotionally stable they are. And something happens around here where they start to be like, okay, yeah, that is how emotionally stable I am.
Real mystery.
So yeah, I thought, and also like as you get very old, around like 30 maybe, people just finally start to figure out, okay, this is how agreeable this person is. So yeah, I think maybe some people are like disagreeable and they just like, yeah, won't fess up to it, and maybe that's where this increase comes from. How hard is it for us to know ourselves? There are some differences in gender. Actually, not a lot to find here. Okay, so this is some research I did. So there's something called Open Psychology. It's a website with a lot of open source data. This is on Machiavellian traits. So people are answering how Machiavellian they are. This was Likert scored, so 1 through 5. For each question, for example, we can have here, actually, raise your hand. We're going to go through 1 through 5. Actually, okay, we're going to just have like, we're going to do 0 through 2. Most people are basically, no, you guys won't answer that one, honestly, maybe. It is wise to flatter important people. Put no hands up if you say no. Put 1 hand up if you say it's kind of wise to flatter important people. Put 2 if you say it's very wise. We're getting a distribution. Okay, keep your hands up, double hands up. Let me see the double hands up. Okay, 2 double hands up. So these people would be red in here somewhere, right? And who put no hands up? Raise your hand now. 1. Man after my own heart.
Does flatter imply that it's not honest?
Potentially, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And again, this is also where I had in my initial thing, the top left was not you answering personality questions just saying who I am, but rather we just measure something about your reaction to a movie, because there is a very valid critique of personality inventories that people can misinterpret the question even. And then people also just, why would they be honest all the time? Or they don't even know themselves very well. So like, it's not the perfect measures. You just need a lot of data. Sometimes people self-report, but also sometimes just data from like people eye tracking on like a video to really get to know a person. I'm not here, that's just going to say we need more 1 through 5 personality tests, and that's going to get us the Relationship Singularity. I think that is a naive view. I do think it would help. It might even be efficient to get like the early gains, but I think you need a lot of other data to really know a person well. So you and I would be this idealistic little blue here, or we might be like, so I'll give it away, these people are pretty evil, these people are not. We also might be these evil people who are blue up here. Because not everyone who says no to this is good. So why do I say these people are evil? So this is analysis you can do so what I did is I took this high dimensional analysis where for each dimension, each question is dimension, and you can be in 1 of 5 coordinates here, like 1 through 5, how much you agree. And then I U-mapped it, right? Remember U-map, like the mastodon gets flattened. I U-mapped that whole data into this. So this is now a personality manifold across these questions about Machiavellianism. So, for example, these people in red here believe that there are excuses for lying to someone else. These people in blue think there's never an excuse for lying to someone else. So if I plotted one of you on this graph, and you were right here, I would say you're a kind of person who doesn't like believe it's okay to lie. You're not good with lying. You can see here, like honesty is the best policy in all cases. These people kind of believe that. These people have this view, like the biggest difference between most criminals and other people is that criminals are stupid enough to get caught. These people don't believe that, right? So these people here think that like they're not okay with lying, but they also think that like criminals are just ones that get caught. Whereas these people think there generally is a split between like good and bad people, but they are willing to lie to some people. So you can see, just like if you had a map of Europe and you had different cultural traits of each region, in this map I've made of personality, each region has a culture associated with it. Different dogmas or views they have. P.T. Barnum was wrong when he said there's a sucker born every minute. These people think he was right. Also, this question's worded away. We don't know if people misread it. But these people think he's right, that there's a sucker born every minute. And some of these innocent people also do. I think these people are probably Machiavellian, where they do think there's a sucker born every minute, and it's just, and like, they won't be suckered. So yeah, you can see like the Machiavellian human embedding manifold. And this is like a communication tool you can make, where instead of having Myers-Briggs, you could have something like this, where you are on this map of personality, and you can plot people on there to have them understand kind of like a BuzzFeed-ified sort of way, like, here's where I am, you know, get your results too. Okay. We're now getting into a section that is kind of like a mirror to Andrew's the deep lexical hypothesis. But first, before I go on, any questions so far?
Do you think that as people learn more, like, this type of information gets kind of more popularly understood, that it will skew, like, the actual values of, like, these self-reported?
That's what I said. I think self-reporting is like, I'll go Elon with it and say, like, in the same way he said LiDAR is a crutch. Self-reporting personality data is a crutch. We probably don't need self-reported personality. Do you guys all know that quote? Okay, so Elon making Tesla competing against Waymo, where he has been proven wrong so far, but I think he'll be right in the future. He said about Waymo with their like $1 million hardware, where they insisted you need LiDAR, which is data that tells you how far things are. That LiDAR is a crutch to solving self-driving, and that all you need is camera data, because humans don't need a LiDAR to tell how far things are. Tesla cars probably shouldn't need them either. So in the same way, I'm saying self-reported personality data is a crutch. You probably don't need it to know a human's personality. You can probably get that through any way besides that. And so any critique someone has of the accuracy of self-reported personality inventories, I will say, like, whatever, we'll get it a different way.
Sweet.
I think that hypothesis of yours about self-driving kind of contradicts what you've been saying about more high-resolution data being better.
Does it contradict because
it's not really a contradiction. I think it's more just like, I don't think you need. That's just like, yeah, more data is always good, but if it's falsely reported, I'll just get it a different way. I'll get the info in a different way.
And maybe the glider doesn't scale as well because you have to build these like
but
models.
You're right, more information is always good, and I think eventually a model would be able to know the kind of people who do lie. And in fact, this thing already does kind of tell you when someone's lying. So I've found in here that when people answer a question in a way that is too divergent from the way that other people around them answer questions, you usually find that there's almost no way that they could have a self-consistent ideology with the way they answered every other question and the way they answered that one. So either they misinterpreted it or they weren't willing to be honest about their answer to that question. So in the data, when people lie, you can still find it. That's really pointing at you, and to you saying, I probably will just keep ingesting the LiDAR crutch of self-reported data, and I just don't have to take it seriously to get information about a personality. In fact, I'll only get more information that the other kind of person would lie about that specific question.
Solid.
Why is LiDAR lie? I kind of view it the same. Like, it's just like
it's just extra data.
Yeah.
And he's saying you want more data to get more resolution. I'm saying, great, then I don't have to throw it away. Like I said, was the solution to him. I can just process it in a way that doesn't make me get less information, actually gives me more accuracy. Okay. The cultural trope hypothesis. So now we're on, in my hypothetical thing, we're now on the third section, the bottom left. Actually, the second before that. We're going to get into both of those sections. So we've talked about embedding human emotions, embedding human personality, but these are still less like, are you a trait, one personality trait?
No.
Are you? Yeah, exactly. You're a combination of them. If you combine several traits, you might get a trope. Do you have like a trope that you think you relate to? Or like, do you have a favorite like movie or TV character?
Yes. This is gonna be crazy, but what's that one movie with Kevin Spacey?
Oh,
American Beauty?
Yes.
Oh, I think usually
American Beauty.
He's honest, not lying.
He's never gonna lie in the personality info. Yeah.
Are you looking up American
So I wasn't
Beauty?
planning on looking up the tropes associated with each character anyway. Kevin Spacey has tropes associated with him in the American Beauty, and there's probably one of those tropes that he relates to, and that is like a what's that?
I don't know if
Or you're drawn to it in some way.
I think it's a very interesting character.
Yeah.
Like, period, and that's it.
Yeah. You're drawn to it in some way.
Yeah.
So that trait either could be one you have, or it could be one you're drawn to potentially in a partner that you've been interested in. But either way, combination.
Interesting.
Yeah. Some people are into that, like CNC. So anyway, like. I'm not going to explain that one. Yeah, you can whisper it between yourself or Google it.
Maybe there'll be another.
Just
talk
imagine
about
if you
it.
had a relationship with Kevin Spacey from American Beauty and you liked it, what you would be into. And that's what that is. Okay, so the cultural trope hypothesis is the idea that if you combine personality traits, you need to get to like a higher dimensional representation of personality. And that would be what a trope is. So this is the lexical hypothesis. This is actually what created the big five personality traits. And the dogma in it, or the proposition in it, postulate, is those personality characteristics that are important to a group of people will eventually become a part of that group's language. And my cultural trope hypothesis, my postulate is all important traits will eventually become tropes in a group's stories. So if there's a trope to know about in the distribution of ones amongst people, they probably wrote a story about it and they made a character have that trope. They probably even have that trope repeat across characters with different combinations of those tropes for different characters. This is probably just a thing that happens, same as language, and it's actually a higher dimensional thing because it's not, a trope is not a single personality trait, it's actually a unique and interesting combination of personality traits. That's the cultural trope hypothesis. So where would we ever get data on tropes?
So if a person can have multiple tropes, is this just sort of a different basis for the same vector space of personality, whether you base it on traits or base it on tropes?
I don't think so. What I think is that tropes are combinations of traits, and characters are combinations of tropes.
There's a lot of tropes that you see around you, but in movies are not very represented because the writers have giant blind spots. Like there's never a movie character who's like a blonde data scientist girl, but there's a million of them who are like struggling writers.
Yeah, nerds took over Hollywood and they made movies where bullies are the bad guys.
How do you map like the real life distribution to the movie distribution?
Yeah, so the data set is imperfect, and I think this hypothesis is probably not 100% correct. But it's a place to start. And I think a way that we can start to fill in the manifold of possible characters with possible trope combinations, because what you just said was actually not a trope necessarily, it's a combination of tropes, which is a character. So you said it's like a blonde scientist who's smart. Though this might actually be it, I guarantee this probably is a type of character trope on TV tropes, but you're probably right that there's fewer characters like this. But each of those is a trope, and you just combine them into a single character. The way that we can fill in the manifold of characters that are potentially underrepresented is synthetic data. So we can already have ChatGPT generate, hypothetically, what would the kind of things that would be said by this kind of character be if we need to get additional data to fill in the manifold of information about that kind of person. We can create theoretical Hollywood writers to make these stories that have not been covered.
Do that, and I think Marvel will set you up for life.
Is this analogous to personas that marketers use?
What's that?
Is this analogous to personas that marketers use?
Are tropes personas that marketers use?
No, I mean this notion that similarly finding out a character, let's say it's a combination of traits into tropes. So marketers assemble personas out of different combinations of trait from a marketing perspective. I'm wondering if it's similar.
I don't know about marketing well enough to know that, but it sounds correct. It's the same way that people, I think probably marketing people do it more explicitly because they have KPIs to meet. Whereas like I bet like Hollywood writers probably do it a little less explicitly. I bet Marvel does it more explicitly, or at least to Disney probably is closer to marketing than pure cinema. In terms of like we need a character that we can turn into a toy, and like one that like the kids will like, and then one that people feel is like the big bad. Somehow they have one thing that redeems them. Good.
I was saying, how would you define trope?
So trope is a combination of traits. That's and so here we have one trope on TV tropes. There's the Wonka, right? And you can think that there's many characters who might be Wonkas, though this trope is specifically named after Willy Wonka. And I think the talk's too long for me to give a whole talk on my TV tropes research, but there's a lot of good questions you can have about this. But it's like the Wonka is a genius nut who should biologically be fired, but he won't because he runs the place and runs it well. This character is typically male, utterly confuses those around him and leaves them wondering where he is already there. The naive so this is also where we get into cool things about TV tropes data that we have, is that and this is something I'll get to later, but we not only have data about the tropes and characters that can exist, we know from stories the relationships between characters with certain kinds of tropes. So here we get to the naive newcomer. That's a trope, right? Which could also be like encompassing a character, could be like naive newcomer plus the other things. Will think he's just nuts until he proves himself by doing something genuinely amazing. What if I had like a dating website where I had mapped one of you as a Wonka and mapped one of you as a naive newcomer, and I told you in advance when I'm pitching you the relationship that some outcome like this is likely to happen between you. That I could predict in advance before your date, these are the relationship dynamics you two will discover because I know you have this trope, you have this trope, and in cinema, movies, whatever, people with these two tropes, when you draw an edge between those nodes, often have these relationship outcomes. This is a thing that repeats over and over in stories. The trope hypothesis. That like this is actually, we've already mapped a lot of this information.
What's the difference between an archetype and a trope?
I'm not exactly sure actually. Those might be like similar enough that I don't know where I draw the line. Yeah, I think archetypes and tropes are actually very similar.
I mean, this entire paradigm is predicated on traits being stagnant. Do you think traits are actually stagnant, or are they like acquired over time?
No, yeah, they definitely can change, and some have a lot more movement than others, and some have a lot more affordances of like paths they can go through than others. And I think the other traits determine what the paths are available to that. And this is probably something I don't have enough images to discuss, but good concept. And yes, we have to like track the drift of traits. We have to even predict maybe where it'll go based on what we know. Anything else? All right. You guys get what a trope is? Maybe look through TV tropes. If you get a chance, it's really fun. So, TV tropes is something called a bipartite graph. Bipartite graph is a thing where there's two categories of things. In this case, it's characters and tropes. And you draw a line from a character to a trope, and like here's all the tropes. Like one character will have like 20 tropes associated with them, 20 lines, 20 edges. And there's this paper called Node to Vec. And this is a paper that, this is actually a GitHub repo and paper that allows you to turn a graph into a vector space. The way it does that is it does random walks along this graph, and it sees how often or how far is the distance for one node to reach another. What that means practically is that if you share a lot of tropes with another character, you'll often reach each other in short time. And so characters that are similar to each other will be near each other in this embedding space, and then you map it down to 2 dimensions, and then you show pictures, and boom. This is the character tropes embedded and mapped in 2 dimensions. Sheldon, Eli Locher, Abed. Sheldon and Abed. Does everyone know who Sheldon and Abed is? Okay, raise your hand if you do know who these 2 people are. That's enough. Okay, yeah. You guys get these? Picard from Star Trek and Doctor Who are similar. You can see all these like prehistoric creatures are near each other because they share tropes, right? There's tropes that these people share enough that they are similar characters. And Gellert from Harry Potter, Count Dooku and Thanos are all near each other. And in this room right now, all of you who are similar to each other would be near each other. If I figured out all the tropes that each of you associate with, and I did Node to Vec on you, and I placed you in the room, you would be standing next to people who share tropes with you. And if I did these tropes along personality dimensions versus like identity dimensions, that would change where I placed you. But if I did them on all dimensions, then you would just have a person who's the total sum of most similar to you. And as you're doing analysis on labels of relationship outcomes, you can choose or even learn, have the model learn which dimensions are highly predictive versus not of relationship outcomes. Any questions? Beautiful, isn't it? Yeah.
A quick question about like opposites, like, so who would the opposite of Thanos be in this like, in this space?
I think when you get into high dimensional spaces, for example in clip space, when you type in prompt in Midjourney, there's no opposite image.
Yeah.
There's things that are orthogonal. In high dimensional space, everything's orthogonal to everything. So in high dimensional space, there's not really opposites or even things that are like symmetrical across some axis because everything's orthogonal. So you kind of have to lose something like an opposite. Oh, do you have a thought on that? You're the math guy. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a question on visualization.
The more math guy.
Sorry about the fact that Doctor Who and Picard are right next to each other, but I can imagine a different visualization where it's Picard and Ernest Shackleton on one end and Doctor Who and Forrest Gump.
That's what I was saying earlier, yeah. Depending on the dimensions you choose, certain people would or wouldn't be near each other. And what a model would have to learn over all these dimensions is which ones create geometric spaces that are highly predictive of relationship outcomes. And so you might discard certain ones, like probably people being dinosaurs probably is not very relevant to us. But people being villains or not probably is.
Have you done like vector arithmetic on this model and checked that like, you know, character plus trait is...
I have not. And that is what I would like to spend the next few years doing, is character arithmetic on this kind of data, because I love it. So anyway. So here is also kind of my earlier slides where I was showing the roadmap. This is kind of, this also rederived. Here are less complex things and like more complex things that like basically is like lower dimensional information like Big Five, and there's like just basic emotions we want to have. You guys get the idea. Want to take a picture? You can have the
feel something about that.
yeah. Broad attribute, friendliness, but then tropes, childhood friends, trope, vitriolic best buds, right? So I'm showing you Big Five to what I'm talking about. Low dimensional versus high dimensional representations. There's such a thing that exists when you increase the dimensionality, is that you get more information. Trustworthy, only friend versus the reliable one. Curious, the cute bookworm versus the Watson. Helpful, the broad attribute, the caretaker versus we help the helpless. You can get more information when you zoom in. So if you say, oh, my friends, they're both helpful people, so I'm going to set them up because they like each other. But one's this and one's this, you might get a little bit something different than you expect. The geometry only works, the data only works if you get a high dimensional enough resolution. Here are some male and female tropes. Some woman in southern France did an analysis of male and female tropes at some university, and yeah, it was Miss Fan Service. Does everyone know what fan service is? You shouldn't if you do. There's fans of women in shows, and you can imagine what, giving them what they want is. So, Disney Secretary, yeah, these are all the female tropes. Like, it's basically each character has either a female, male gender, or something else. Throw away the something else's, and let's find out which tropes are more correlated with male or female characters. These are the most female ones. These are the most male ones. Motivated by fear. That's interesting. Robot war, cure for cancer, evil genius, grand finale. We need like a woman robot war going for a grand finale.
Three of the
showdown.
men one don't even sound like they're about humans at all.
Yeah. Which one?
Robot war, cure for cancer, and grand finale. Maybe it's like the guy's curing cancer, but phrasing it as cure for cancer.
Yeah. Take it up with the editors at TV Tropes. They're like Wikipedia editors. They're just adding data all the time. Here's other information. Here's one quote. The top 50 tropes. Oh, so this is for books, I think, or film and TV genres. So you can see how gendered musicals are on TV is less so than they are in movies. You can see horror TV is more gendered than movies, like how much it plays into gendered tropes. What is this one? Sci-fi TV is actually not gendered. It's actually reverses gender roles. Interesting. Anyway, data exists. personalitydatabase.com. So you can actually, we have more labels about this. Even mapping to things like Myers-Briggs, mapping to things like the Enneagram. We know like characters and their traits. We can map things to other things. Which one do you notice?
Oh, anxieties and Enneagram 6. Sorry.
Yeah. Huh. What is it? The 6 again?
The one with anxiety.
Yeah. and like this 7's like excited one. Yeah. Or like the wild one. Oh, Minecraft is INTJ. And a thinker apparently. That's weird. I think of him like an 8. He's like killing people. Like he's beating up people. Yeah, it's a cool website. More data. You can always get more data on tropes.
So, on the gender trope thing.
Yeah.
It seemed like the genders weren't, or the tropes and their genderness wasn't really reflecting anything about people, and it was more reflecting the space of the biases that the writers of fiction have.
Disagree, but anyway, we can move on.
Okay.
So another thing we can learn is through language and conversation. I think this probably should have been before the tropes thing, but I showed you a bunch of stuff about, I disagree that all gender biases are socially constructed. I think some are reflections of reality.
I'm not saying that.
Yeah, anyway. That can be a political talk upstairs or something. We could even have a 30-minute going over all of her work on gender bias in film. She publishes a lot of stuff. It's shockingly good. Okay. Embedding through language and conversation. So we talked about like personality tests a little bit, or like tropes. But I think that the greatest source for some people, especially the kind of people in this room, is just like we have their chat histories. They've Discorded, they've Facebook Messengered, they just like blah, 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 talk all day. And like we should be embedding most of our stuff through like kind of unsupervised learning over tokens that people generate. One hypothesis I had, for example, of how to get a human personality embedding is if I had, for any one of you, all of the tokens you've ever generated, and I had a GPT model with a conditional embedding. I don't know raise your hand if you know what a conditional embedding is. Okay. A conditional embedding is like something you give to a model that isn't its parameters learned over all data. It is something that is specific to the thing it's doing. For example, when you type into Midjourney, you actually generate an embedding, a conditional embedding on the thing you typed, and all of its parameters are already frozen. It just knows how to generate any image, period. So if you do conditional free Midjourney, it'll just generate an image from anywhere. It's like dreaming. If you give it condition that'll determine its path, it'll be attracted to a region that is similar to the embedding of the words you put in. In the same way, if I had a GPT model and then I gave a conditional embedding I trained it where that conditional embedding was whoever was generating the tokens, then you might imagine that what this GPT model has learned is, number one, how people talk, and number two, how you talk, you specifically. And so that embedding would become an embedding of your personality. I think there's one thing you could say that is like, if I can predict every single thing you would ever say, like if I can look at what you've said and I can always predict the next token, I have a pretty good model of your personality. I know you pretty well. If I can predict everything you're ever going to say, I know you pretty well. Now you have to do all sorts of ML stuff, like make sure you've not just memorized the training data set, blah, blah, blah. But there's a theory that if I can predict everything you would say and I know it's you, I have embedded your personality. And so that's the idea.
So I think of this conditional embedding, like if it's saying language, for example, there's the unconditional thing about, English sentences tend to have nouns and verbs and they write like this, and the conditional part is would actually make the conversation different than anyone else's.
So like a girl texted me yesterday saying, hey, do you want to come over? How should I interpret that? Well, tell me about her. That's the conditional embedding. You can't give me a great answer of what that means unless you know about her, right? This is not a real thing. But like, that's the conditional embedding. That question, tell me about her, is the conditional embedding. Because you are a general model that has mapped all human conversational pattern, and you're being asked, generate me a hypothesis for what this this language means, and the person says, give me a conditional embedding of who this person is. Tell me more data about them. I want to do that with tokenization. Go ahead.
What are some of the ways that the embedding would actually be used or incorporated mechanistically? Like, would you just add it to the other embedding vector or what?
I think, actually, yeah, I'm not really like a person who's like creating like the architectures for these things. I'm not exactly sure what it would be, but like, however these models.
Once you have the embeddings of every personality, can't you just start doing, a second round of learning on the differences between embeddings of people whose relationships you've observed, and then you get a good prediction on, the high-dimensional vector difference in two people's embeddings can predict their relationship dynamics.
It sounds right. It's too complicated for me to internalize right now. Yeah. There's a lot of good things you can do with these embeddings, and I'm just saying this is one way that you could use just tokens from a person to generate a personality embedding. Okay. For example, you can know male or female just by how often they use certain words. Oh wait. Actually, I don't need to cover this. Okay. Raise your hand if you know what Bushido is. Any women?
That was
Bushido. Bushido. それは何ですか? I lived in Japan for 2 years. One woman. What's Bushido? Yeah, you don't know. Yeah. That's predicted by data, by the way. Okay. Bushido is like samurai style of like, lifestyle of fighting. Okay, now boys turn to get. What is a bando? Raise your hand if you know what a bando is. LA guy and fashion guy. Okay, what is a bando?
Yeah, the sash sort of thing.
Two best dressed guys know what it is. Okay, what about a damask? Raise your hand. What is it?
A kind of cloth traded from the Near East historically, a very fine cotton.
Okay, apparently no guys know what this is. What is a peplum? Raise your hand if you know what a peplum is. 1 woman, 2 women, 3 women, 4 women. No men know what a peplum is, including me. What is a peplum?
How is it spelled?
P-E-P-L-U-M. Okay. And let's get no women again. Oh. Okay. Raise your hand if you know what piezoelectricity is. Can we get a woman? See? Data tells you. Okay. What is piezoelectricity?
It's electricity generated by movement.
Yeah. All right. What's that? Okay. Author and what's the talk after mine?
I'm doing one on polarity, masculine, feminine.
In this room?
No.
Oh, no.
No. What's the one in this room?
I think it's the
Keeper.
No, it's the doctor.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to stop for him then. Okay, we're gonna skip through this. We're gonna actually get this. This is like things that have been learned in the embedding space of language models, right? So Lauren was born in the year of blank. LZ was born in the year of blank. It can literally know the log likelihood probability of different years. So this is literally just the next log likelihood probability difference between the likelihood of LZ being this year versus Lauren, right? We can learn a lot. This is actually a thing from Google pair. You can also see changes over time in language. So you can see like how in the year he, she, blah, blah, blah. You get it. Mm-hmm. I need to get to some other stuff. Okay, language, right? Does anyone know this paper? Raise your hand. Yeah, one of the coolest papers ever. Generative agents interact with simulacra of human behavior. They made a little town and they prompt engineered every single thing to have a personality. Who knows what this show is? Wait, come on. Who knows what show this is? Black Mirror. This is the one where they get simulated doing dating.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This is them realizing they are little freaking dots in human embedding space. This is what this is. They got embedded, and they got simulated.
Great.
Why can't we simulate relationship outcomes using language, conversations, blah blah blah, chatbots doing this, and we just simulate your dates over and over? And what do we do with that? So here's a simulation of, this was a game theoretic simulation of people sharing resources and figuring out, when you have different policies, different personalities, what are the outcomes likely with different starting conditions? And what I want to do with relationships is predict, if I match you with this person, here's the relationship outcomes you're likely to discover. Maybe you guys will get along, but in all universes, this is where it tends towards. But if I pair you with this person, this is your 1 in a million. You're always going to get along with them. Even at a rocky start, I'm going to tell you, like this start, keep going. Because in most simulations, you're meant to be with them.
I
this would only work if the language it was trained on was actual relationships of people and then the words they use.
Yeah.
Because if it's trained on archetypal characters, then again we might have a completely more.
The Obama picture. We need more resolution for it to be accurate. Otherwise, it's just wrong.
It's just
Yeah.
not even the resolution, but real life couples. I think is the missing the feedback.
Oh,
needs
for
to be
for
there.
saying what relationship outcomes happen, like instead of these corny dialogues from Hollywood movies.
Like maybe 10,000 examples of actual couples that worked out for 30 years, and
Yeah.
then like do the embedding space on them.
Great point. I wish I had more time. I have to like rush through everything. So maybe actually no more questions because I still have like probably 30 more slides. Okay, memes and political compasses as personality and relationship outcome manifold communication tools. This is if you're a guy with mommy issues and you're a guy who's a bottom, not sure what that means. This is the girl you go for. Yeah, these are types of relationships. Don't cancel me or do whatever. This is what they look like. I'm not going to explain any of these because they're all fucked up. But yeah, that's the political chart with the kind of relationship you seek. Okay. That was the slide that like we decided not to have a reporter here to, like so no one would see it. Anyway, basically what I'm saying is that if you have these high-dimensional embedding spaces, what do you do next? You need to make it communicatable. This asymptotes towards BuzzFeedification of communication of personality, but for a little bit more intellectual people, it's just political compasses or sightless intellectual memes. You have to rush through it. Here's more political compasses. Here's like, major morality mapped. Don't have time for all of it. They're fun. This is like EA tweet. So all information can be mapped, all communications information. We can like map people based on their tweeting, right? We know where they are in these two dimensions of many, many, many dimensions. People also move through the manifold. I think you talked about that. People move through the manifold. Personality changes. So you can see this is a person talking about how they moved around politically and what activations made them move. Conservatism, yikes. Bernie, 2016. Government's kind of whack. Some capitalism is useful. Ron Paul is Lord. Taxes don't seem fair. Taxation is theft. McAfee is base. Libya India is pretty cool. We even have more. This person in 2014 was up here and moved around to here. Oh, politics are a thing. Go America and Jesus, right, Mom and Dad? Capitalism has pitfalls, but we just got rid of two-party system, reformed, everything will be okay. While there are really some underserved people in our communities, the CIA did what? Either we kill all social dominance hierarchies or they'll kill us. First, here's the pamphlet. That guy's done it. Yeah. Stories have shapes. As people move through the political compass chart, as they have these revelations about what their personality is and what they believe, it has a shape. Kurt Vonnegut already talked about. There's the man in the hole, a guy, the main character gets into trouble and then gets out of it again and ends up better off for the experience. Man in the hole, he pops out. The main character starts off poorly, then gets continually worse. Kafka, with no hope for improvement. Yeah, there's metamorphosis. Hamlet has lifelike ambiguity that keeps us from knowing if developments are good or bad. Cinderella, her life gets better, blah, 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 blah. It all comes crashing down, she lost it all, and then back up to infinity, she's happy forever. The Old Testament, we get the Garden of Eden, and then someone ate an apple, and now we're sad. So yeah. This is it. These are the stories. They have real shapes. You can make this mathematical. Here's a woman even explaining, really herself, how she moved around. And I think we could get people to explain their life stories to a chatbot or something too, to know how their personality has changed throughout time. Just another one of that. This also implies that we can influence transition along personality space by knowing what worked for different people to move them. So you might say, Matt, why are you trying to make everyone in the region of the political compass that you want them to be? And I say, I'm not actually. I just want people to not be in the region of personality that makes them unfit for relationships. So some people just literally aren't. If you imagine a political compass of relationship orientations, and certain regions just always have bad relationships, can we figure out what the transition paths are, like a Markov chain, to move them into regions based on where they are, into regions that make them better at relationships? And I think the region they're in will determine what paths actually can be moved through versus where there's cliffs cognitively. Here is JREGs, you can almost imagine this a high-dimensional thing plotted down in 2D. That's why there's these weird shapes. This is type of guys tech guy, CEO, entrepreneur, in the back there's lying. This is him labeling if he would or wouldn't. He's vaguely bisexual in his videos. So I don't know. He Yeah, J. Regg's a pretty wild guy. But he labeled this. So this is human labeled data over a personality manifold. That's what this is. He's saying, would he have sex with them? Wouldn't. He said, not even as a friend would I have sex with them. So he wouldn't do it with like a killer or a sociopath. He don't know what an ISTP is. E-boy is ideal, a soft boy is ideal. E-boy goes into like gamer, goes into normie, goes into soft boy, goes into a dandy, goes into like a preppy guy. Yeah, he has a crazy video on all this. But point is, there is high dimensional personality space, and people have preferences over this, and you can label it and learn those features. Different types of labels. So this is an outdated model of Twitter's cancellation policy. How risk of being canceled on Twitter due to your political views. Here's how risky, it's like the traditional political compass chart. So like, yeah, this is probably very outdated of like what's going to get you canceled on Twitter. Probably actually nothing will now. But yeah, this is labels over a manifold, right? And so you can imagine that same, so archetypes. We talked about tropes. Archetypes are also a thing. Magician, warrior, king, lover. Warrior, king, magician. So like a lover at the extreme becomes an addict, whereas a lover, not loving enough becomes impotent. A magician becomes a detached. Too much of a magician becomes a detached manipulator. Too little becomes an innocent person. A warrior is either a masochist or a sadist. A king can either be a tyrant or a weakling. There are like these archetypes can be derived from high-dimensional personality data and communicated to your users. So as they go out in the dating world, or they just are in the dating world, they can know who they are. So what I'm saying is basically don't use all the things that look like data science and statistics when you're talking to your users or convincing people about high-dimensional personality stuff. Use archetypes, use memes to have them understand what you're talking about, what you've derived about who they are. Myers-Briggs is a type of archetype clustering, personalities along these axes. Personal, possible, logical, present. You get it. People already do this stuff. People do it with emotions too. You can even BuzzFeedify everything. So basically, can we just make a real data BuzzFeedification of all these like high-dimensional personality embeddings? BuzzFeed is so dumb where it's just like, you're a Michael Scott or whatever. But like, what if it was true? What if I could actually make BuzzFeed personality quizzes and they were actually real information about reality? Books can predict location, but I actually forgot to put the thing in here. There's crazy stuff about which book genres correlate with which big 5 personality trait distributions. It is pretty wild, but I don't have it up. New friend discovery. These slides are not fully fleshed out, but there's an idea that your current friends are similar to the people you're looking for, and that you can like get these kind of social graphs. And this is what I think Facebook should have been doing, is finding people with personalities that are most similar to the ones you talk to most, and like matching you to a new friend along the chain of social connection. This was kind of the intuition for like, I think Hinge or Bumble or something. Like one of them was like all about finding mutual Facebook friends. That was like their prior on that, and I think it's like somewhat true. Here's what a social network looks like. You can see it's a real thing. Here's what another social graph looks like. This is like Game of Thrones. Social graphs are real things, and like we can use them as data to like do the cold start problem, like moving people around to like find them partners. Here's the structure of romantic and sexual relationships at Jefferson High School, a famous graph. These are people who've had sex with each other. You can see there's just like, these are like all the normies just having sex with each other. And then these are like people who like have their weird little side clicks.
Why is Jefferson in quotes?
I don't know. I know Jefferson High School is just in quotes. This might even be hypothetical. I don't think it is.
It was a real high school, but they gave it a pseudonymous name.
This guy has a lot of female partners. Yeah, you can see this is like a social graph. Researchers develop algorithms to maximize friendship acceptance by strangers on social network. So you can also just get probabilities of like people who they're friends with, and their personalities can predict who they might be friends with. But will it always work perfectly? No, but it can offer improvements. And so it's the idea that this map of the world is not the actual territory you're in. And I think that's always an important lesson to learn when you're actually like creating these embeddings, trying to learn stuff, is that it's not meant to tell you that like everything is true. All right, attractiveness. I'm gonna have to speed through this way faster. Or could we maybe move the other guy to like a different room? Because I think I probably need another like 40 minutes or.
Let me work on that.
Okay, yeah. All right, attractiveness. So a major component that who raise your hand if you were thinking about this the whole time, or at least it popped up in your mind about mutual attraction. Raise your hand. Really, like do it honestly if you actually thought about it. Okay, interesting. Yeah. Okay, I show you your soulmate and you think they're ugly. Not good, right? Yeah, Matt, you fucked up. That's not my soulmate. I would never have sex with someone that ugly. Why'd you give me a soulmate that's so ugly? Sorry about that. Matt, I trust you with all my data. Sorry about that. Yeah. Canceled, like removed, like refunded, like I'm done. My startup's over. I need to have them actually be attractive. So, can this be embedded too? Can we solve this too? I have some slides to help you figure this out. I want people to upload, so here's like one weird idea. I want people to have to upload several profile pics, including the ugliest one of themselves they can find. So people always like puff up their looks. So one way I'm going to enforce this is that I'm going to use an aesthetic scoring model where I have an AI objectively say how attractive each of the photos they upload is. And the discrepancy between the top rated one and the bottom rated one has to be a 3-point discrepancy, which means people must show, they must show a picture that is like 3 points lower in attractiveness than their top photo. And this is a way to have people actually be honest about like what they look like on a good and bad day, and it's like gonna be fair for everyone where people aren't penalized by the network for doing so.
Customer support. Someone is just like too hot that
Yeah,
they
yeah.
can't get it.
They're like, I literally tried to. So we said like probably this would be a race to the bottom to find the face that the model thinks is ugliest that other people find the most attractive. So like you go, but they're like, oh, it's so in a cute way. So anyway, probably someone's just gonna have like some ugly stuff around them, and we probably get like it probably wouldn't work, but it's an idea.
What, like their friends?
Because people are on a spectrum of attractiveness themselves. Okay, oh yeah, I didn't fill this in. This is from Christian Rudder's thing, Dataclism, where he said that in OkCupid they found that high variance people got the most matches. So here's an intuition. Like if me and Thomas rate Jackson here, each we give him like a 7. But then like Thomas gives him a 3 and I give him a 10, and Thomas gives him a 10 and I give him a 3, who are we gonna message? I'm gonna message him, he's gonna message him, Jackson gets no messages, even though he has the highest average score. You need to be high variance. People message their top choices. So in the same way, to be disliked by some is to be loved all the more by others. That's one of the thoughts about attraction, is that you need to be high variance. Just a little intuition pump on that. The individuals get the most affection will be the polarizing one. I said like an idea like maybe people's exes can tell us what's bad about them so we can see what unique things may make them likable. Because maybe people's exes can just like help us understand their negative traits that they won't tell us that like other people actually might find endearing. In general, I thought we need a lot more like getting exes in the loop. So this is if there's a really selfish guy, or there's a guy named Kyle, and he's like, all these girls on this app are ugly, or like I only swipe right on these hot ones and they never match me. And we want to say, Kyle, buddy. We did a statistical analysis. You're not swiping right on your looks matches, okay? Like, there is a distribution of attractiveness. You fall in a certain area. You're swiping right on women who we've statistically modeled to always swipe left on someone who looks like you. Here is a woman who is the highest, like our prediction of the highest amount that you are attracted to her, where she has the highest mutual attraction to you. How about we show you them instead? Let's have you like actually go for the people who are into you. We are effectively trying to Moneyball mutual attractiveness. Does anyone know? Everyone know what the movie Moneyball is? Yeah. Raise your hand if you do not know Moneyball. Wow, everyone knows the movie Moneyball. Yeah, basically you use data and statistics to find the guys who make your baseball team super good that cost the least money because everyone thinks they look weird or something. Like this one guy just like looks goofy and I don't want to like have him in our pitcher even though he's really good at pitching. I want to Moneyball mutual attraction. I think that if you are taking like relationships only from a purely sexual attraction standpoint, there's so much unachieved alpha in the world where there are two people that both find each other really attractive that like most of the people they could date they don't find attractive, and we just need to like pair those people up. And I think we can do that through data science. One thing you need to understand is we can now generate the manifold of all possible looks. We don't need real human photos. We can show people interpolations of current faces to really precisely hone in on exactly what they're attracted to. That should be a filter on dating sites, just what exactly are the regions that you are and aren't attracted to. We can see that, just as you guys have learned throughout this whole talk, manifolds are real and that being close to them means something and that moving in certain directions along them means something. There's like a bunch of ways to look. Yeah, faces, eyes. noses, lips. And these will all be, instead of one hot encoded, embedded in vector space. We could even use this model's embedding space as the vector space for all of our looks. So if we just project it into that embedding space, we already have an embedding space of human faces. We don't even need to invent it. It already exists. So if you give me a label where I like how this guy looks, that's a label in embedding space. You've already given it to me. Okay. After we train an aesthetic model on a person's preferences, we could then get the average embedding of their highest rated things. So here's the interpretability part, right? Remember I keep saying that like if we're gonna know something about someone, we have to prove to them we have before we get them to invest more. Clip interrogator is a thing where you have an embedding space and you tell the person back, here's an image embedded, what is the caption? And in the same way, I could have a thing where I embed the photos that you like, the regions you like, and I could have it turn it into language, unilateral, or I could have it turn into language to say, here's the traits you like. Wouldn't it be so nice to like swipe right and left on faces and that get projected in embedding space, and then I have a model that can map from image embedding space to language through clip, and it says, Dolma, right? Dolma, you seem to like guys who have like this shape nose, but only if they have medium length hair, or you like blonde guys, but they have to have a man bun. Like, I'm starting to describe the regions of embedding space that you prefer, and here's like, by the way, in that embedding space, I have the average ratings of all people like you or all people in general, and I say, here's a region that everyone likes that you gave a very low score to, and here's what that is. It's guys like this. And this is the kind of magic where you can prove to your users, we have actually learned something about reality. We have figured out what you like and don't like that differs from everyone else, and they'll say, wow, this is Moneyball-ing mutual attraction. The aesthetic scoring model that made Stable Diffusion beautiful. Let me show you this. So this is actually a project from, I did like some work with this group, and this is a thing where this is like a subset of Lion 5B, and they trained a model on some labels of images, and then they put all images into this space. And this is like the model's rating, and these are like the ugliest images apparently. And as we scroll through, we're going to see that models can learn which images are beautiful or not. These labels are only about beauty. So we're getting higher. We're getting into like 3.5, 3.75. We're just going to scroll through quickly, and you can see it gets better. Some are also unhot linked. Ignore those. You can see it gets prettier and prettier. These models can learn what people find beautiful. It did have some weird things at the tails, but again, just higher resolution, more data. So yeah, we can actually learn preferences over images even when we've never had a label for them before, just by having them in embedding space. Here's beauty scores. We also have like different races, like Asian females, Asian males. Here's like them getting more attractive according to a model that was like based on data. Probably hurt some people's feelings anyway. Like this is just, we can do this. Here's like also different ethnicities, even more with like looks. What's that? Yeah. So yeah, here you go. Actually, technically, yeah, these labels are also one hot encoded. We probably could just have all ethnicity be in embedding space, you know, where like now it's just down to the family level. Anyway, point is, we can label this. Here is a model that specifically, again, I told you about conditional embeddings. Here's a diffusion model with conditional embeddings for a target beauty score. And so all these embeddings are kept consistent except for the eigenvector that would maximize beauty while changing the fewest other things.
So apparently a fanboy is hot.
This guy has to become femme, yeah. That seems to be an ironclad law. So this person probably should transition, the rest are okay. I wonder if you could even discover in like embedding space some sort of like gender dysphoria. Yeah. Maybe that's even like a thing that could be discovered through human and personality embeddings. I'm telling you guys, human personality embeddings can change the world. Interactively assessing disentanglement in GANs. This guy is not nearly as famous as he should be. I reached out to him, but he was all the way in like Indiana. A Korean guy in Indiana. I think he's at like Purdue or something. Anyway, this thing is amazing. So we can have a walk through the latent space of faces, and you can say exactly when you stop becoming attracted. And we know the exact traits that are associated with that walk in embedding space. Which like big lips are changing, blonde hair, bushy eyebrows. What is co-varying in the latent space? So I'm telling you, instead of showing you real users' photos, I can just show you things that are optimally selected to most efficiently figure out exactly what you're attracted to, so we can moneyball things where you can get matched with people that you're attracted to, that are attracted to you, in a way that uses as few images as possible to figure out exactly what you would like. And this can be done in the latent space of things like StyleGAN. And so this is how we can do the data analysis. The question is, where in latent space does attraction begin and end? Here's like more where we just know like her traits and how they change. Where does attraction change, begin, end, whatever. There are regions in embedding space of looks that you like and don't like, certain amounts. Back to this guy. What if I actually generated this for you? You know, instead of being psychic on Etsy for $30, what if I am a dating website that ran you through this process and literally did generate, you know, here's this person sharing on Twitter, here is my exact regions of looks that I like, that are known to maybe like me, that other people don't like as much. Anyone on Twitter look like this. And so you don't even need to match them. We're making tools for people to go out and actually do this as a real thing. Any questions about this?
I think that how attractive you find someone, there's like a sufficient level that your partner needs to meet, but it's really not optimal to maximize.
Yeah.
And then reverse search for like my ideal.
Yeah.
Like the traits are just not gonna line up. So I feel like this might just be the wrong approach. Like this is probably number 7 on the list.
Yeah. Also probably more important for men than women.
I think it's actually the opposite, or depending what you meant by like. I find that in my experience, a lot of guys, they'll go out with people who are conventionally attractive no matter what. But a lot of women, they highly index for a specific type, or a couple of specific types. Yeah.
Whatever priors you guys want to put on how you think this tool will be used, it is a tool that can be used. And we will learn how to use it for our benefit. But it is a tool that can actually help us optimize in this space. In this whole talk, I have views and priors, but really not that strong. My only prior is that we need to make these tools to allow us to take every one of these directions, whatever you think, or whatever you want to have a machine model learn on data, we can do if we actually take this approach to solving these problems. Here's another one. Just more beautification of faces, yeah. Just same, moving along the vector of beautification. But what if it was along your personal vector of beautification? Anyway. We're moneyballing it, right? Might be enlightening for people to see who they value the most that is the least valued by others, so they can strategize on how to get traits uniquely valuable with them and the partner. Moneyballing. We're moneyballing attraction. You can let someone, when searching, decide how much they want to factor in universal appeal versus ones they've been specifically measured to like. There's this one website that's kind of aside, but like there's this one company that literally tells you, so you could also put changes you want to make in clip interrogator to figure out what the words are. So she thinks that her nose is too big. We find her nose is normal. It's her weak chin that makes it look big. So you could have these models also tell you, interpret exactly what's going on, so that you like don't misunderstand what you think about yourself or what you think about what you're attracted to. This is another funny one, Anne. Can I say?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, one of the founders of PhotoFeeler. And co-host of the symposium, helped make this site, and it tells you how, like, on the distribution of traits, these are labels on this guy's. So also he would pass the test, right? Of like 3-point difference between his best and worst. This is like, you know, in the 3s and 4s. This is in like the 8s and 9s. It's like we could literally tell this guy on Bumble or whatever, you have to upload both of these photos, and we could like algorithmically enforce that. But then there's also a different. So Anne took the algorithmic approach, and there's this random guy called Wheat Waffles. You guys wouldn't believe I also paid Wheat Waffles on Fiverr to rate my face. It was pretty brutal. I think he gave me like maybe a 5 or 6. That's where he gives most people as he advertises in the distribution. So yeah, not a Chad, not even a Chadlet, but like almost pre-Chadlet. Like,
I think it's Chad Light, by the way.
Yeah, almost a Chadlet. I think Chadlet actually is like the diminutive.
It's like manlet, you know?
Yeah. So anyway, he makes these videos. Point is attractiveness, statistics, distributions, whatever. You guys get it. This could be a useful tool. Geography. What if you had an interest by subregion for you? What if we told you which regions people are most attracted to someone who looks like you? So we don't have to even show you to these people. We can simply guess in the embedding space where you lie in terms of your personality and looks, and where people in those regions lie, and what they would think of someone like you. Why is this not a thing?
I guess Mormons want to fuck whoever that is.
We also know that there's different ratings distributions in different communities. And we know that certain communities give more or fewer like detailed ratings. This can be incorporated into our data science. But you see Goodreads, like the average rating on Amazon for books is just like 4. Goodreads actually has like opinions. Cultures are different. I'm not going to explain this. But like Vietnam's reactive apparently. Germany's, yeah. I'm not going to explain this. I don't even understand it. I did understand it at one time, but I forgot.
Linear axis?
Yeah, it's an interesting. If you take a picture if you want to figure it out later. Okay.
Action response is linear?
It's an interesting model of culture. Okay. Here's where more women and men are. Why aren't we doing geographic, like strategizing, figure out where you should go? Actually, everyone in the Bay already knows this is the move. It's the whole like fly from SF to the Bay.
Actually, you have to be 2 artillery distances away.
Get out. Or you can listen but stop interrupting. Okay, I have to finish. So yeah, you guys get that there's different distributions of men and women. Might be where is that? Sacramento?
Yeah.
Might be a thing. Yeah.
Tahoe, maybe.
Trip to Tahoe. Anyway. You guys get that there's like geographic differences, right? You can optimize over geography, not just attraction, moneyballing attraction. You can moneyball geography.
I think the pink one is Sacramento. I think the other two be SF and San Jose.
Here's a website. Not sure why she's Asian. I think like Chinese people made this website, so she's just like, you know those like what's the website that's like Amazon for China? Alibaba. You know, like Alibaba models, like here's my factory. Like I think that's what it is. Like, but like for this website, like I think it's the same thing. So anyway, you can literally sort by like women, what the ratio is of like women to men of a certain age and BMI and height, and actually it goes way down. There's like a lot of ones for this website. Why is there not more geographic optimization? When I'm on Bumble, I like change like regions based on where I think people would be more interested in me. Why is this not an automatic process? Why are they not shopping you around to like places where you can know where you're actually optimally desired? Should be a thing. Cultures are different. Different cultures have different preferences. This is like, you know, these cuisines are liked most, like this is how Filipinos feel about these foods. They love Filipino cuisine, no one else does. This is Italian cuisine is apparently the most popular across all except China. They're haters. Though actually you could also say that Italian cuisine was just taken from China by Marco Polo in the 1200s. So maybe they're just like, they have a reason. Don't appropriate our spaghetti or whatever. Point is like, cultures are different, so like we can optimize over which culture someone's from to know that you might have a better shot in this region, or you might be more valued in this region. Optimizing and moneyballing, human attraction, and relationship outcomes. Gender differences. Rob Henderson had a really good thing. I'm not really sure like how to fit this in the whole theming, except just more data about the fact that, for example, women now think a major reason that they're saying a major reason they are not in a relationship is they're not finding someone who meets their expectations. He's pointing to like this also might have to do with the fact that there are college educated when men aren't, and that women want to have someone who's at least as educated. Blah blah blah. Like men want someone who's not much taller. Women want someone who's not much shorter. There's like things about people that you can optimize over data on what they're looking for. We can moneyball mutual attraction and relationship outcomes. Keep that in mind too. You know, coming off of the like attraction thing, this can also be optimized for interpersonal relationship outcomes. What people like in another person's personality. Here's things like women and men rate higher. Yeah, whatever. Okay. Something about like, actually I just included this even though I'm not sure what the thread is, except like men's genetics apparently are consistent between, but like what women want changes. Point is, it's a complicated high-dimensional problem. Let's get a lot of data and labels to figure it out. I think this is like, yeah. Relationship readiness. Okay. Any questions before we go into this section? I think we're in the final like 25 minutes of the talk. So any questions so far? So we've talked about embedding human personality, how we're going to do that, and like I think we still haven't gotten to the actual relationships part because there's details in there. So one thing you should consider is that in a market where there's supply and demand, matching people who are demanding and supplying more efficiently is a way to improve the market. but also improving the goods in the market themselves is a way to improve the market. I have actually not as much to say about this as I think some other people at this talk might have, but I think that using these same techniques, these same data science techniques, same embedding techniques, we can make people better partners, better suited to having good relationships. And I think, a lot of people say, I'm already perfect as I am, or no one says that, but like some do, I don't know. The point is, some might say, I'm already perfect as I am, and what I want to do is, I just need to have the person who's perfect for me, and I'll be happily ever after. And I think a lot of us know the truth is that you need to change too. If I give you from God a sorted list of the most compatible people, that still might not fix all your problems. You might need to improve as a person in order to have that relationship. This is about relationship readiness. I really don't have a ton to say, except just some ways to do data science. Also, type of single guys. It's like some of these guys are in personality space, right? And some of them just don't have hope. So if I find someone in a certain region of personality space, the problem is not finding them the right person. The problem is making them not the wrong person. And I think that's the thing that you have to consider in all of this, is that some people just are more or less hopeless in the region that they're coming from in terms of character personality space. So in the college, I didn't even know that was going to be there. Aggressively online dating, not believe he's married yet, misogynist, guy who peaked too early. This is, yeah. I guess I only had one thing on. I didn't even have enough data on that. I think I would love to have some people give talks on what they think would make people more ready and be better partners. I think this is the thing I have least expertise on. I think a lot of other people are much better at talking about this. But I think it's a very real and important thing, and my tools are not a panacea to solve all the problems with this. You actually need to become a better person too. What's your
So
thought?
we have to stop at 20 after the hour, so you have 10 more minutes.
Okay. Yep, all good. Okay. Compatibility relationship outcomes. I think this is what the label on the manifold would look like, where the higher one is people you like more. People already try to predict relationship outcomes with Myers-Briggs, for example. So this is just a lower dimensional attempt to label relationship outcomes. I'll post this thing later. The friendship subset hypothesis. Basically, okay, yeah, this was I don't have time for that. Pitching the match. So there's a thing I was listening to, the guy who's in charge of Netflix recommendation systems, and he said, our biggest problem is actually not necessarily finding the right video for you to watch. It's convincing you to watch that video, because all we get is the thumbnail. And you've noticed, Netflix actually tried doing things where they change the picture based on who you are. That is them embedding your personality to figure out how to pitch it. I think if I had a list of the optimal people for you to attempt to date, pitching them to you, figuring out how to convince you that that is the person you should invest time in, is a very important problem to solve if you're having a dating app. There's also interpretability explanations for you can turn an embedding space into a language explanation for that embedding space.
Is that one from the 3 Blue 1 Brown video?
Yeah. People want to be known, but what if the app can help you show that you know them, get to know each other, things like that. Relationship outcome improvement. Statistics can't tell us what would happen, they can tell us what might happen. Can personality relationship embeddings help us systematically identify and solve relationship conflict areas and direct them towards regions of better outcomes? Types of couples. This is language analysis. We'll skip that, but just know that this is more ways that we can analyze language and understand personalities. Personal improvement readiness. People just need to get better to be better relationships. Okay, I think we're gonna just do app ideas and then be done. So this is the major thing I want to discuss. I wish Sri had stayed actually for this, because I think this is the most important thing to think about when you're making a new dating app. Is your app that is social optimizing for fame or love? Is it about worship, or is it about reciprocity? Is it about creators or communities? Is it about relationship being intense or being casual? Is it about advertising or about direct pay? Forget that part. Some apps are more about love and some are more about fame. Here's how couples met. Everyone's meeting online now. Raise your hand if you know the joke that's related to. Yeah, bad minds, very minds. Anyway, dating apps are not working. Why? Because they're not making efficient filtering tools. We're not doing efficient search. We're not doing the embedding space stuff. All the stuff I'm talking about. Don't have time. Sorry. You asked me after. Right now, what is your ideal sexual relationship? People are looking for different things in dating apps. So what if? So here's like people wanted eHarmony versus OkCupid. eHarmony was like this ultra Christian thing that like trying to get people to have low divorce rates and have kids together. And we see people want different things in different regions. We can optimize over geography. Here's Hinge, Bumble, Seeking.com, most popular in Palm Springs, California, by the way. And then Gainesville, Florida. Interpret that how you want. Seeking.com is for like finding sugar daddies. Dating apps do not appear on nowhere. The answer: I hate the bar scene. How are you when most likely work? If we match people, we need to like give them a thing to go off of in order to make the thing work. This is like pitching, but like mutual pitching, where like we make sure that the conversation is actually going the way it needs to go. We need to like monitor their current mood and attitude to make sure that they're not using the app in a lazy or disingenuous way. We need to like make sure they're not like just like blind through the app experience. Privacy trade-off, like as people want more privacy, we get less information. So you need to get somebody to get them to trust you with at least enough, give them enough privacy, or give up enough privacy to actually be known. How do you do that? Convince them that you know things that you can help them. This is Sim for Satoshi, one of my favorite tweeters. But this is an idea that will ChatGPT just become the ultimate dating app, because as the number of programmer data relationships happen, interesting to use the word relationships, but just like as the complexity of data increases, software complexity gets so high, the number of permutation and combinations gets massive to where ChatGPT, there might not be any apps anymore. It's just one app, and that generates apps for you based on the exact circumstance you need solved. So maybe the ultimate thing looks like a ChatGPT becoming this god that matches all of us. And that's my final slide. I think we have like 3 minutes, so any final questions?
What was the joke?
Oh, about?
Yeah, the graph.
Nope. If you know, you know. Yeah. You might find out tonight. All right, anyway. There's a manifold market on it.
Oh boy.
That's great. Any final thoughts?
What's the next step in your master plan?
I really don't know. I think I'd love to find people to work with on these ideas who believe in it. I'd love to find people who want to engineer it, who have like the engineering skill. I'd love to find people who could even be like more like CEO types to actually handle the stuff that I'm not really that good at, and let me kind of be more of like a researcher on the team. I'm also like good at the back end, but yeah, I'd love to like be working with a startup that saw all of this and said, oh, we can actually do this, and like this is how it should be done, and we actually will achieve amazing results with this, and yeah, people actually believe in the vision.
All right, I wasn't here in the beginning, so maybe you address this, but why expect that the problem is not good enough personality embedding? Because we had OkCupid, and that seemed pretty good.
Not nearly good enough.
Okay.
At the beginning, I explained.
Cool.
This is a long one, but I have this theory that even if we had this algorithm that shows you the top 20 matches on the planet that would really work for you, I think our minds would have a hard time comprehending that, yeah, these 20 soulmates are all great. But now, I think a lot of success I see is like in like Love is Blind, these crazy TV shows where they put 10 people there, there's a deadline, there's an expectation that in like 3 weeks you'll be married. It's not perfect. Maybe I don't know, a third of couples actually end up being married, which is a way better rate than anything else. So I'm thinking like maybe it's a framing thing.
I absolutely agree.
Basically like the frame that the next person who meets the requirements, the good enough, whoever's above a 7, just go for it.
I absolutely agree that a list from God of the most compatible is not the solution to every problem. You also need to change other stuff to set it up right.
So if everybody, you have a sense if everybody moneyballed this at the same time, what it would converge on?
There's a thing called stable marriage problem, Gale-shaped algorithm, and it would yeah, I don't know. This question, I don't know the answer, but like that's a place to start looking at what algorithm asymptotes stores. There's properties to that. Yeah, there's still probably like 30% of my thoughts that I didn't get time to get up or present, but Gale-shaped algorithm is a very interesting one.
Notably, the stable marriage algorithm does not correspond perfectly at all with the intuition of happy marriage or what people think when they imagine marriage. It just means stable.
Proper Gale-shapely, if it's male optimal would be woman pessimal. It's
It's a zero-sum game.
Yeah, the way that it's reduced at.
Hope you guys all enjoyed, and yeah, feel free to ask me questions after.
If I can just say that my talk on masculine, feminine, sexual polarity, and intimacy has moved to 420 or whatever time it is now, and it's going to be in the attic, not where it was originally. Yeah, it's going to be.
Yeah, dude.